We then see the Codebreaker demanding that he negotiate a payment with Finn and Rose. Finally. And he wants Rose's necklace that linked with her sister. Obviously a very touching item, but the Codebreaker wanted the Haitian smelt material that it's apparently made from. So he asks for it, and Rose gives it to him despite Finn's protests. Finn then discovers that the Codebreaker stole the ship he is currently using. Finn is shocked despite having met this man in prison. Finn says it's okay though, because you stole from the bad to give to the good. Like Robin Hood. They both then discover that the person who owned the ship they are currently in sold weaponry to both the Resistance and the First Order. The Codebreaker explains that good and bad are just words and all of this is just a machine. This is probably one of the only moments where I am reminded that I am watching a film written for children, as this is such a basic concept for Finn to learn and change from. The idea that morality is not binary, that there is not one side and the other. This concept is explored thoroughly in the original films, as well as the prequels, without being as on the nose as this scene is. At least when Palpatine says something similar to this, it's because he's an evil person trying to groom Anakin, which is a large portion of the prequels in terms of development.
If you wish to become a complete and wise leader, you must embrace a larger view of the Force.
A consistent theme is that of people who are good turning bad and vice versa, making controversial decisions or enacting a principle or policy that has repercussions that echo far further than they could imagine, placing a blurry line between the preconceived notions of good versus bad. The point is that the other films left it as a theme, while this film literally has a character spell it out for you.
Good, evil, they're just words.
This method is rushed, and it's some super lazy writing as opposed to showing the audience why a statement like this would be true if they were to think about it, which I imagine is the purpose of a theme, not to just say it out loud, which is terrible. Like I said, that is far more akin to writing a children's story with a moral that has to be clear. As for the rest of the themes of this film, we shall cover them at the end. So in full, the Codebreaker says that the war between the perceived good and bad is all a machine, just for the others to profit off, which, again, is neat in sentiment, but are you seriously trying to recontextualize the entire conflict over the 8 films into a constant war machine that others maintain in order to make money? Are you just going to ignore that Palpatine was the orchestrator of war in the prequels, and in the OT the Empire were trying to crush a small rebellion that got extremely lucky and killed Palpatine, which meant the Empire lost their head and thus lost their direction? It's not like war profiteers were keeping it going, it ran regardless of them. The machine, as he refers to it, was a consistent battle between two sides that had their pros and cons and endgames. Neither side cared if someone on the outside wanted it to continue, because it didn't. Not to mention that the Trade Federation created their own armies, and the Republic ordered clones from Kamino. On top of that, if continuing the machine to profit was their only purpose, then they didn't do a good job of it when the Republic or the Empire reigned for their respective amounts of time. But not only that, this scene is played as though it's a reveal that the Resistance isn't truly good and the First Order isn't truly bad. It's more of a conflict of two different perspectives of the same reality. This is nonsense. The Empire back in the original trilogy ruled with an iron fist. The work that the Rebellion did managed to free the galaxy from their stranglehold and created a rule of peace for however long that lasted. They even say that the Imperial Senate has been dissolved in Episode 4. Now that there is no council, the regional governors control their own systems under fear. The Empire has the Death Star, and no one will dare oppose them while it's functional. There are clear teams of villains and heroes in terms of morality, with individuals crossing the blurred line. It's not confusing or murky in the grand scheme. You save a theme like that for the individual characters and their respective conflicts. Trying to convince me that the Resistance has an element of evil within them when they're being chased all over the galaxy for the crime of being alive is not going to work. Cassian Andor's opening blast to an ally said more than any line about morality could.
We'll be alright.
War is causing good people to do desperate and bad things. Hell, why not have a trilogy where the Empire was doing the opposite of Cassian, vaguely good things in aid of bringing the Empire back? Talk about the reason why the Empire was actually good for the stability of the galaxy. Besides, do you actually think the Empire thought of themselves as morally good when they nuked a planet that was peaceful just to torture somebody?
You're far too trusting.
On top of that, do you think the First Order thinks of themselves as morally good when they mow down innocent villages or nuke several planets at once? Themes are so great because they sit comfortably in your head, and when people try to pry at them, you can throw up the shield of subjectivity. But when we explore these things, they fall apart. The theme is being thrown out haphazardly in order to muster some deep thought about film itself, which will hide the otherwise mediocre writing.